Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signs a bill into law that will change school curriculum.
LGBTQ history will now have to be taught to students. Reporter Brett Brooks looked into these new rules. Brett, supporters say this history is really often overlooked.
Overlooked, and some of that community even say forgotten. Next school year, the historical contributions of those who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender will be taught in Illinois classrooms, a move some say can end bullying. Beginning in the fall of 2020, all public schools in Illinois will be required to teach LGBTQ history.
For young people who do identify as LGBTQ, it allows us to learn about role models in history that we can look up to and develop, pride in and an aspiration to be like.
Like Jane Addams, a social worker from Chicago who became the first American woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize, a graduate of Rockford University.
For young people who do not identify as LGBTQ, it allows them to have a fuller understanding of the incredible diversity of historical figures who have made our state and our country the great place it is today.
State Representative Maurice West is the only Rockford lawmaker who voted yes on the bill. He says teaching this history should be, quote, encouraged and desired.
It really gets difficult when you try to make a bunch of rules at the state level to affect hundreds and hundreds of school districts.
State Representative Joe Sosnowski says the new law is an unfunded mandate, which takes power away from the schools.
These types of educational decisions are best left to the local school districts. And if they think it's appropriate or it's subject matter that they want to cover their school boards, I'm a big advocate of just local school districts, taking care of their curriculum.
However, some say having this new knowledge can now make some marginalized students feel safer.
If all kids are taught about the positive contributions LGBTQ people have made to history, we just believe that bullying and harassment will go down over time.
So Rockford Public Schools say they already teach LGBTQ history, but plan to reevaluate the curriculum to make sure it meets the state requirements.
Time now for a Culture Wars lightning round. We start in Chicago, where a school district is launching its LGBTQ Equity Week. According to the school's district's website, pre-kindergartners through 8th grade will be taught curriculum on topics related to LGBTQ identities and historical figures. Let's bring in the former press secretary for the Democratic Policy and Communication Committee, Rochelle Ritchie, and the Federalist culture editor, Emily Jashinsky. Welcome to you both. We have 3 hot topics. We'll start with this one. Thank you both for being with us.
Hi, Shannon.
I want to put up a little bit of the curriculum so people can see, and this is out there, parents can check it out, anybody who's interested. 1st grade students are going to learn how to introduce themselves using their name and their pronouns. 2nd, 3rd grade students will create their own inclusive fairy tale to share them with the lower grades. 4th and 5th, they'll be inspired to create their own gender inclusive advertisement for a product. Emily, of course, the question becomes for teachers or for students that may be, Orthodox Jews, observant, with Islam, with Christianity, if they don't line up with this, what happens to the kids?
Right, no, exactly. I think that's an important point, that there's obviously a role that churches and families should play in this, that schools shouldn't necessarily be interfering with. And I think it's also important to say that schools should learn how to deal with gender dysphoria in compassionate and helpful ways. But introducing these notions of sexuality to children at this young age, I think, is remarkably confusing. I think it's not constructive. And frankly, I think it makes me concerned for all these kids who are going to be exposed to this curriculum. I don't think it's helpful. At the same time, I hope that schools come up with a great way to deal with gender dysphoria that's compassionate and helpful. I'm not sure that this is it, and it frankly has me a little concerned.
Another piece in the Federalist, they say the explicit goal of such laws is to make children agree with the left view on sexuality, which contradict the historic view of all major world religions. Rochelle, is there a way to do this that isn't controversial so that people can learn to treat people's differences in a compassionate, friendly, respectful way, regardless of viewpoints?
Well, when I looked at the curriculum, what I saw is that the kindergartners are going to be actually learning their pronouns. I think that the school, that when you go back and you actually look at how this sort of developed, it really started because they have a transgender special education teacher who was being discriminated against and harassed by some of the staff at the school. And so this sort of spun out of that, which I thought was really interesting, because it felt like, okay, if that is an issue happening with adults, then why is that sort of translating over to how we educate our children. I obviously think that we need to have an inclusive society. I don't think that these people have gender dysmorphia or whatever you want to call it. These are kids who are just learning how to be inclusive, but I think there is a fear that they're also very impressionable as well. And then kids play pretend, you know, so some girl may say, you know what, my name's Johnny, even though her name is Sarah, but it might not mean anything. It's just that kids like to pretend that they're different people.
Well, and listen, the curriculum's out there so parents can take a look, make their own judgments if they have kids in the schools about how they feel about it. Okay, we got to go quickly. I'm sorry, I'm slowing us down.